Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Congratulations, everybody. You have made it to Friday. And once again, it is a Friday edition of Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. You know what Fridays are about, people. It's Pick'em Friday. Me and Ty both in the studio. We're going to pick all of our games here in the Ysn family like we do every week. And if you want to pick along with us or have any comments or concerns or notions, I should say, be free to leave a comment on the comment section brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch, you can leave us a comment and we can pop it up on the screen. We would love to hear from our wonderful fans, and we always have fans pick with us, which is cool because if they think we're being stupid and have the wrong pick, they can slap us on the face with a comment. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Boardman Mitsubishi comment section is live. You can also call us 330-886-0813, the number to reach us on the hotline. Since Ty's in the studio too, he can talk to you while you're on the phone, since we're both in studio.
Yeah. So we actually have the technology today that functions for that. So give us a call.
Less chances for glitch gremlins too when we're both in the studio.
Yeah, honestly, but we should have a fun show today, as I believe Coach Lude of Western Reserve.
You went right into our preview. Yeah,
gonna be here today. Gonna be on the show today as we get to preview a tough matchup for the Western Reserve Blue Devils this week. But hey, they're red hot and they're going up against one of Division 6 best.
12:15, Coach Lude coming on, and then at 1:15. We'll have our Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner this week, Drew DeShields. He'll be coming on the show back-to-back weeks. We're going to be talking to a West Branch football player.
Yeah, as West Branch, the community came out strong, and I mean, you can't blame them, as the last couple of weeks they've come up huge in games, big wins after big wins, and I think everybody's believers in this team in Division 4 now.
If you're not a believer, then you better go watch, and seeing is believing, and that offense is for real. According to Yip Sports, I saw this morning, West Branch is the highest scoring offense in the state of Ohio, averaging 49.7 points per game.
It's higher than they were last year, and they were averaging about 43 points per last year, and that's crazy that they've upped the average to just under 50 points per game. And when you have an offense that's able to do that, how are you able to beat that? Because, I mean, you got to try to contain it, and not many schools have been able to. Only a couple schools have been able to hold them under 40, but, I mean, I don't know if it's possible.
That's it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to hold this team under 30.
Oh, man, that'd be a tough task, which is going to make them very dangerous in the playoffs, because it knows when you come into a game against West Branch, you got to put up at least 30, or you're not going to win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what West Branch's offense is going to do. I mean, they're too good and they're too sharp. It's a case where you really have to be able to make sure that your defense holds up enough to where they can't score 40 to 50 on you, but you also need to have a prolific enough offense to be able to score on their defense.
And one of the big reasons is Drew DeShields, who we will be talking to at 1:15. Since we have a lot to do, let's get right into picks. We have about maybe time for a couple of picks before Coach Lude pops in. Let's start with the top of our schedule, as we do every week, Ty. And this week it happens to be Beaver Local at Indian Creek.
I mean, this one's going to be an interesting one. Michael McKenzie, of course, Mikey McKenzie is going to be on the call
McNuggies.
for it. Does a great job with Beaver local coverage. But honestly, I mean, this is a case because Beaver local has looked actually really good the last few weeks. They've been on a little bit of a hot streak, and they seem to have figured everything out. And you know what? Indian Creek has kind of been on the opposite. Lost 5 in a row. Did pick up their first win over Martins Ferry this past week, 26-14, but has struggled against some teams with solid records. And Beaver local coming in at 5-2, and in Division 4. Looking at where Beaver local is ranked, it is right at that 9 spot. So a win here could put them in that upper echelon. They are 0.15 away from number 8 Canton South, which is 8.30 average to 8.15. So, I mean, it's a case where I think Beaver local has a chance to win because they're going up against a struggling Indian Creek team. So, yeah, give me Beaver local in this one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Derek Bell. We love to hear from you as he pops in. First comment of the day, which gets a prize of, well, nothing tangible, but our love and respect. I'm going to take Beaver local. So I think everything you said is just it hits the nail on the head. I mean, Austin Klein, not talked about enough. He's on the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley nominees for this week, but he had 5 total touchdowns last week, 4 through the air, 1 through the leg, 1 with the legs. Total dual threat quarterback, and he's one of the big reasons why their offense really found things going. I mean, we remember the first couple of weeks, their offense looked a little lethargic, and Austin Klein kind of decided to get him in the rhythm, and they've looked like they've been a good team. They've won some close games too. I mean, Edison 27-21. So they haven't been blowing teams out. They've proven that they can get into those tight battles and win. I think Beaver local wins handily tonight against Indian Creek.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a chance for Beaver local to get themselves into the top 8 and get themselves a home playoff game.
That would be huge because it is hard to go to the Beavers Den and win a game in Beaver local. We go next. It is VASJ at Ursuline in Stambaugh Stadium. This is a game that got scheduled on the fly because Ursuline lost their game with Boardman and picked up this game against Villa Anna St. John's. So, Ty, I'm sure you know a little bit about St. John's and you have the laptop of knowledge in front of you. Why don't you give us a little scouting report on VASJ and what Ursuline should expect?
Yeah, they came out with 3 straight wins, averaging just over 40 points per game in each one of those against Holy Name Lakeside and Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy, before getting 2 consecutive weeks canceled, losing the week after to Walsh Jesuit 50-20, and then picking up a win over 1-6 Lake Catholic in October 2nd, I believe that was. That was a home matchup, and they won that 49-20. And, of course, their game got canceled versus Conneaut, PA, so that's the 3rd game that's been canceled this season for them, and they picked up Ursuline. But this is a case where you look at their wins, too, against a 3-4 Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy in D4, D3 3-4 team in Holy Name, and a 3-3 Lakeside in D2. So some solid wins against some solid teams, but honestly, Ursuline has been tested, I feel like, against a way tougher gauntlet of a schedule, because you go down Ursuline's schedule, which are 4-2, and you look at what they've been able to do. Win against Bishop Hartley, a 5-2 team in Division 3. Win against 4-2 Hickory, PA, big 50-7. They lost a 7-0 Chardon team, but it was a close one, 48-47 victory over 3-3 Division 2 Fitch, and win over Warren Harding as well in Division 2. That's 8-9 respectively in Division 2. And then, of course, this loss against St. Vincent St. Mary. But it was one of those games where I feel like if you're going to have a game where everything goes wrong on offense, you might as well just pile it all into one game.
Let's talk about that game, because I think we both were shocked that it was so lopsided. I mean, Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, props to them, tip of the hat. They came in ready. They executed a really good game plan, and they took it to Ursuline. Do you see anything in that game that is a formula for other teams to use, or do you think it was just Akron St. Vincent St. Mary is that good and they had that much of a high level of execution? Obviously, they were good enough to do it, but do you think other teams, is there a formula for other teams to execute that kind of game plan, or do you think it was one that only St. Vincent St. Mary could have pulled off because of how good they are?
Well, looking at what Ursuline has tested themselves against some of the best, and sooner or later, when you test yourself against some of the better teams, you're going to get exposed in certain areas that maybe you didn't even know existed prior. So the problem I said with when you beat Ursuline, and I said this earlier when Chardon did it, is that when you beat them, you make them better. And you see what they were able to do, 2 close victories against 2 tough Division II opponents after that loss to Chardon. Ursuline is able to improve on the areas that they struggled in, and especially in losses. And I think the formula, what you saw, what St. Vincent St. Mary's did so well, it was getting that initial pressure through Ursuline's offensive line, containing Brady Shannon, forcing him to throw, and just the speed of their secondaries was able to keep up and make it tough to get any sort of space for Ursuline's receivers on their secondary.
And Nick Colbert making a good point. This could be a possible preview of a playoff match for Ursuline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at it, and I mean, Ursuline for Villa Angela, St. Joseph, absolutely, this could be a playoff matchup, especially in Division 4. So I think this is going to be.
That makes it interesting. How much do you show in this game? Like,
well, this is going to be huge for Ursuline too, because I think looking at Division 4-13, Gilmore Academy is the only one that's really close to Ursuline. 12.89 average for Ursuline, 12.29 for Gilmore Academy. Salem's at 4 with 11.46, so a little bit of a gap, over 1.5 between Ursuline and Salem. But you look at this, Villa Angela St. Joseph is 5, so it is a 2 versus 5 matchup now in Division 4. And you're right, it's how much do you want to show? But this is a case where I think Ursuline definitely needs this victory, and they want to come out strong after this. Ursuline hasn't, I don't think they have a team that is just made to lose 2 in a row. I feel like they're such a team that gets better after losses. They respond. They do such a good job at it. Coach Reardon is going to look at what St. Vincent St. Mary's did well against them, and I think he's going to have that corrected. Give me Ursuline.
Oh, I thought you were going to swerve him.
No,
I thought a swerve was coming.
No, give me Ursuline in this one. Give me Ursuline.
Company man, I'll always take Ursuline as well. It's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see how much both these teams want to show, especially VASJ, because Ursuline needs this win. You can't lose 2 in a row. I mean, and you have Gilmore Academy nipping on your heels in that 3 spot. So I don't know if Ursuline will really come off the gas or not show as much. But if this gets into a 14-21-7 game or something like that, you might see VASJ kind of get a little bit more vanilla than normal and say, we're not going to show everything because this could be a possible matchup that we see Ursuline later on in the postseason.
Well, you got to also remember, too, like for Ursuline.
Because they're both locked in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ursuline's going to be locked in the playoffs, but you want to know the difference in kind of spots. Look at where it is right now. Ursuline, if they're a number 2 seed, and obviously things change, and things are going to change in a matter of weeks. But this is just the case of if Ursuline was a 2 to a 3 seed. 2 seed, they're facing Struthers in the first round at home. 3 seed, they're facing Canal Fulton Northwest, who is 4-3, and 2 of their losses came against 7-0 teams. Similar to Struthers, though. But I mean, you look at where it kind of is, and there's so much talent that could be loaded in, and we saw JFK be an 11 seed at one point this season. And you can get that unlucky draw of computer points wise where you get a much tougher opponent than the schedule or the records indicates.
Talking about tough opponents, our next guest has a test on his hands this week, as we are joined by Coach Lude from Western Reserve. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. It's Friday, and we love Fridays. It's Friday Pick'em, and we love kind of breaking down all these matchups. Let's talk about your team. Before we talk about the matchup at hand, this is a team, starting out 0-3, but it's really righted the ship. What have you seen from your guys to rebound from a tough start to the season?
Growth. The biggest thing we preached all year to our young guys. We got a lot of young guys that play. No one's going to make any excuses for you. You're not freshmen, you're not sophomores anymore. It's time to be varsity football players. And so they've really had a chance to grow up, and I think they've done a great job of that, especially the last couple of weeks.
Speak to me, Coach, on your defense. I mean, that's been, I think, the one point I've been most impressed of, especially the last 4 weeks, and how well your defense has played. Has this been sort of the point you've been trying to coach to make the turnaround here? And if so, how have the boys taken to it? And why has this become so successful now?
Yeah, I really believe our defense has played well all year. Those first 3 weeks, we just couldn't get off the field on 3rd and long. We held Brookfield, we held JFK to a lot on 3rd and longs and just couldn't find our way off the field. Gave up big plays, especially gave up some big screens. We've tackled well, I believe, all year. We have a senior-laden linebacker group. We have 4 linebackers, and 3 of them are seniors, led by Caleb Durig, Noah Schaefer, and Justin McLean. They're also captains. So having 3 of your 4 captains at that linebacker unit, I think it's made a big improvement on our defense. And they're great leaders. Our guys believe in them. Our staff believes in them, and they do a great job.
We know there are no moral victories in football or in any sport for that matter, but when you look at those first 3 games and the opponents that you face, those are tough teams. How much do you guys take away from those games, knowing that you could build off those losses and learn a lot from playing teams that tough?
Yeah, our guys battled. In our league and in the region that we're in, it's loaded. I've said since I've got here, when Andy Hake had things rolling here for Western Reserve, Dan Williams at McDonald when he's won the league, and now Springfield the last few years. I don't care if it was called the MVAC or the ITCO. If you win this league, you put yourself in position to make a run. So that's been a goal that we set for ourselves in January. We got off to that 0-3 start, but we believed that the schedule that we played prepared us to play teams like McDonald, who unfortunately we didn't get to end up playing, and then Springfield. So our guys never gave up. They kept fighting, and even in those losses, they played to the very end, and we're proud of them for that.
I think no doubt getting that win against Louisville was a huge victory for you guys to show that you guys can compete and win against those big teams. Getting that win and getting that confidence, now moving into a matchup with one of Division 6 best in Springfield. You guys are coming in as one of the hottest teams, though, in Division 6 right now. Preview this matchup a little bit for us. And for the defense that has been so good, how are they going to kind of try to slow down this Tigers team?
For sure. First thing to go back to last week, something we preach in our program is play the next play. Never get too high, never get too low. And I'd be lying if I didn't say when Balone split us there for that 45-yard touchdown that our kids were more composed than I was. I probably lost my composure there a little bit and panicked a little bit. And it was our DC, Coach Hostetter, who kind of calmed me down and said, "Coach, look, the guys are ready. We got to get a play call in. They're ready to go. Play the next play. That's what we preach." And so credit to our kids and credit to our coaching staff for coming through and pulling that one out against Louisville. A tough team that's only going to continue to get better as they got a lot of guys coming back next year as well. Heading into this week, obviously Springfield's been the class of the division for a few years here. 21 is special, and we know that, but we can't just send all 11 defenders to stop him. They got a bunch of other guys who can beat you. They got a lot of receivers who make plays, multiple running backs they like to get the ball to. They're always big up front and physical, so we can't just key on one guy. We got to do the little things, and it starts with getting off the field on 3rd down. Last year in both games, it was another example of that where we held them to 3rd and long a couple of times and couldn't get off the field.
Bringing up last year's matchup too, and this is one of the reasons why I think this can be a very close game and a lot more competitive than the experts would kind of give you guys credit for. Last year, you guys held the ball a lot for that first half. You just didn't finish drives with scores.
Right.
How much have you kind of emphasized that to your guys? Like, we can move the ball as much as we want, but we have to finish drives against this team.
Yeah, finishing's been the theme of the offseason. Don't short any reps. We can't watch everyone. There's times you got 30, 35 guys in the weight room at one time. So we rely on our seniors, and we got great senior leadership. And even our young guys, hold your teammates accountable. If we ask for a rep of 10, don't cut it short at 7 or 8. If we ask for a rep of 50, don't cut it short at 30 or 40. And our guys have done a great job of that. We have to finish. Last year, we have the 1st and goal inside the 5 twice, and we come away with 0 points. We did hold the ball for a lot that first half, the first game that we played. We go for 2 a lot, so we felt like it could have been anywhere from 12 to 16-3 heading in the half there, and we just didn't finish. Next thing you know, good team like they are, they go bang, bang, bang right down the field. It's 10-0 at half. We get the ball, snap one over our punter's head, and it's 17-0 in a blink of an eye. And that's what good teams do. Even in that game, we had a few more opportunities in the red zone, and we just didn't finish. The second time we played, it they went 3 for 1, I think, at the end of the half. It was closer than I think people remember. 14-0. We had a chance there to put some points on the board and didn't do it. All of a sudden, they come down, they score, onside kick, score right before going into the half there. Then they get the ball coming out, and I think they score on the first possession coming out of the half as well. So we let them go 3 for 1 there, and it was kind of ball game from there. So we got to finish. We got to continue to finish, and I believe our kids are ready to do that tonight.
Talking about big dogs of the valley, you got a certain someone that's going to be representative of it this week until Saturday, David Altier, and I think there's no doubt, Coach. When you look at his numbers and hundreds of yards per week, and he's been a huge part of this offense. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like having someone of his magnitude on the offense and how he's helped kind of turn the corner for this team this season.
Yeah. His buy-in was crucial into what we wanted to do here. Obviously, he was a great player. There was a lot of turnover last year of coaching staff and everything else. So when you get one of your best players to buy into what you're doing, it makes getting everyone else involved that much easier. As for the player itself, I have never been around someone. He can score from any point of the field at any time. I think he is going to set a school record here for 70-plus yard touchdown runs. He has broken the school rushing record for in games twice this year and had it called back on penalties. He did it twice again last week and had 2 more called back on penalties. So we got to continue to stress to the guys up front to keep their hands inside. I know that's a record he'd like to get as a personal goal for himself, and we'd like to help him get it there. But yeah, getting the ball in his hands, you find a way to get him special teams, offense, and the receiving game as well. Sometimes we'll line him up at quarterback. We move him all over the field. We're running the stack guy, which Andy ran for a long time here. That way we can go left and right, and he's doing a great job of it. And I think his offseason, more than anything, has helped him shoulder the load to be able to carry it 37 times like he did last week.
Everyone knows the X's and O's of David Altier, and especially if you watch Western Reserve, and if you don't, then you're just not watching the tape. Talk a little bit about what he does off the field and what he does as a leadership role for this team, and how much the guys really look to him to lead, not just by verbal, but lead by example as well.
Yeah, perfect example. We preach thumb in the chest here, and you always hope your kids are listening to that and taking it serious. So we obviously came off to an 0-3 start there. It wasn't going very well, and we're walking off the field 0-3. And there's a lot of people chirping, as you can imagine, because it's been a long time since Western Reserve has been 0-3. David's not a guy who says much, but after that game, he came up to me, put his arm around me, and just said, "Coach, we love you. We're behind you. Block out the noise. We believe in you. We're going to get this thing right. I thought you guys called a great game. We're not giving up on you, so don't give up on us." And that's just the type of guy he is. His belief and his dedication to what he's done this year has really helped getting the program going to where we want it to go.
And I mean, looking at this program too, I think there's no doubt we talk about you guys turning the corner, and this is going to be another one of those tough tests. But I mean, as of right now, you guys are right in the thick of it with playoffs. But obviously with David Altier, he's had huge contributions, and I think you got to credit the offensive line too for what they've done.
Absolutely.
What are some other dark horse candidates on this team that have come up big, maybe even some younger players that have gotten significant playing time that have been sort of big surprises from you from week 1 till now?
For sure. So you said it starts with that offensive line. We got a lot of seniors that play up there. Justin Moosh, Dean Coleman. Adam Wise is one of the best centers I've ever been around. I'm going to knock on wood real quick, but in 2 years, we haven't had a bad snap with him, which is pretty impressive. And he's really put it together in finishing blocks this year. We got a junior, PJ Barris, leading the team in pancakes right now. And then we got a sophomore in Nate Facillo, who kind of helps anchor that offensive line. Sometimes we'll line some of our linemen as our up back and stack guy. So it starts with those big boys up front. Western Reserve's been known for a long time for their offensive line, their running backs, and rushing the football. And that's something I think we've done a good job getting back to this year. We got a lot of young guys as well. Our quarterback's a sophomore, Luke Henning. He's done everything we've asked him to do. He's really added another dimension to our offense with his legs this year. I think he has 7 or 8 touchdowns on the year. He can really extend plays and keep plays going. And when we do take shots, he throws a great ball. We got a sophomore, Ethan Cannon, who's leading the team in receiving. And then we got another 2 freshmen, Jack Darney and Don Riccardi, who both get a lot of playing time on Friday nights. All three of them, Luke, Jack, and Dom, committed to be the quarterback this year. Luke separated himself, and as Dom and Darnay continue to develop as a quarterback, they've helped us at receiver and running back as well. So seniors Justin McLean, seniors Caleb Durig, Noah Schaefer, those are just some of our captains. We don't got a lot of guys, but we really like the guys that we got, and it starts with their leadership up front.
Coach, before I let you go, I want to talk about the Western Reserve community and getting back to a full capacity crowd at home games and what that's been like for your team to kind of be back in the community a little bit and be able to feel their support again.
It's been amazing. Like I said, I went to Western Reserve. I grew up here. I played for Capacci when he was the coach back in Western Reserve. When we turned the things around, we lost to Jackson Milton for 15 straight years. I never beat McDonald, but they beat us for 24 straight years or whatever it was. So to be back home, I kind of missed that last year. We had empty stadiums, so I didn't see a lot of old familiar faces. It was mostly parents, and it was hard to even get my parents in some of those games. This year, we've had a full stadium every time that they've come home. We filled up away arenas, so we're doing a great job. It's nice to be around our community again. I know our kids appreciate it. When those cowbells get ringing and the Move the Change chants start, we appreciate it, and something I'm glad to be back for.
It makes everyone in the football stadium say, we need more cowbell.
Yeah, more cowbell for sure.
More cowbell. Make it feel like Mississippi State out there.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on game day. We know your Fridays are probably stacked with stuff to do. We appreciate the time. Good luck tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Absolutely. I don't teach in the building, so we're getting ready to head out to lunch ourselves. Our other salesmen already took off every Friday. If we continue to win, we eat at the same place. So it's McDonald's for the 5th week in a row here. So I'll be going to meet them there soon.
When you end up playing McDonald's, can you still eat at McDonald's? Is that like a bad mood? Bad? Is that bad?
Oh, I think you can eat even more McDonald's.
All right.
So, absolutely.
All right, Coach. Thanks again for joining us, and it's great to talk to you.
Yep. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Yeah, I like that. Lunch mojo before the game on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. And tall task, but this is a test I'm glad to see Western Reserve have. And they were tested again last week against one of Division 7's best, and they came out on top in a very close one. They proved that they could win the close ones. Now they got another test. Now it's up a division in Division 6 best.
Look, I can't tell you if Western Reserve is going to win this game. Here's what I can tell you. No matter what the score is, no matter where they are on the field, that Western Reserve team is going to fight, claw, scratch, tooth and nail, and they're never going to give up on that game. And if Springfield thinks that a 14-point lead is just sufficient and they get to sit back on it, this is a team that they're not going to quit. He talked about it. They were down 0-3 in the year. They didn't quit then, and they're not going to quit anytime in this game.
And you saw Coach Guerrero knew last time going that 3-for-1. He knows how much you need to put up on Western Reserve. Yeah, especially Western Reserve, who he knows, and I think everyone knows, Western Reserve's one of those teams that's just not intimidated by anybody. Right. Doesn't matter what team it is. Doesn't matter what year. Western Reserve is not intimidated by anybody they step on the field with.
I think talking to him, it was kind of clear that especially that regular season game last year is still kind of in their minds a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, first and goal twice in the first half, and they come away empty both times. They were only down 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
They score both those times, and like he said, they go for 2. It's like 16-3 at halftime. They have a lead on Springfield. Instead, it just didn't go that way. But if they can just finish this year, finish drives, they can really compete with this Springfield team.
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest thing. And David Altier is on another level right now. And because of that, it's going to be a little bit tougher to stop them and to stop him. And we've seen Springfield have great success against a bunch of teams before. And this is going to be another test, too, for them, I think. And it's going to be one of their biggest ones in recent memory.
You're good when everyone in the stadium knows you're getting the ball and you can still go for 260-plus yards.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the biggest thing for Springfield, though, and I think I would say is that it is at Springfield, and you don't have to play in front of that Western Reserve crowd this year.
That is true. Home field advantage kind of reigned supreme this year. Last year, nah. wasn't
Yeah.
really a big deal. This year, it's especially this year. I think these fans are more rowdy, more energetic because they missed last year. So you definitely, and that student section, by the way, for Springfield is also tough too. One of the best student sections in the area, and as it should be, they have a lot to be excited about. So it should be a fun one. We'll pick it a little bit later. It's quite a ways down on our schedule, so we'll get to it. If you're waiting for that game pick, and you don't want to hang around, which why wouldn't you? Shame on you. But if you don't, we'll probably be back to it towards the latter half of the show. So for now, we're going to take a quick break, and on the other end, we will continue our picks of Week 8 football on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the four words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university. and the advantages of a personalized academic setting, where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue our Friday pick'em here on Running Point, and looking forward as well to Drew DeShields coming up at 1:15. We already talked to head coach of Western Reserve, Jason Lude, and we look forward to 1:15 to talk to Drew DeShields. So let's continue our picks, though. Next on the docket, Camel making the trip to Champion team that looked pretty competitive last week in their loss to Liberty. Despite their record, I think this is a Champion team that has a lot of good pieces there to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think this is honestly a Champion team that, you say despite their record, but you look at the teams they played. Southeast was a 7-0 Southeast team now, 22-21 loss in overtime. So kept that one close, kept the game against Liberty close, kept the game against Garfield close for about a half as well, too. And the game against LeBray was competitive for about a half as well. But I think this is a case, too, where Champion, just has faced a tougher schedule, I think, than Campbell has. Not that Campbell hasn't faced some tough opponents. We look at what they've faced in facing a Lowville team that's 5-2, as well as a 5-1 Brookfield team, as well as the 7-0 Garfield team last week. Both teams similar records, but I just feel like Champion's shown a little bit more. Give me Champion in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Champion. They're home. I think Campbell's struggling. I think this is Champion's chance to kind of get a win under their belt after a couple of tough losses against really good opponents, as you kind of slated out. I really like Champion's quarterback. Coach Simon brought him up yesterday. He's a really good playmaker. He's going to make a lot of plays tonight for the Flashes. So now we want to remind people that Columbiana and East Palestine is canceled for the night, so no game there. So next on our schedule, Garrettsville Garfield going to Rootstown.
Yes, as this one is going to be an interesting one, of course, with the cancellation. Garrettsville Garfield now getting rescheduled with Rootstown. But, how can you deny anything Garrettsville Garfield's done this year? They've looked so impressive. Their size up front. They just play bully ball, and they're better at it than everybody else. They stack the box, and they just run it down. As looking at Rootstown, though, 4-3 on the season, and they have some wins over against some quality teams. Against Liberty, they were able to beat in, as well as a Champion team. So you see the wins, though, and where Rootstown is, solid team, but I just feel like Garfield's on a different stratosphere as far as where their levels are right now. 7-0 for a reason. Nobody scored above 14 points on them for a reason. Nobody gets more than 2 scores on this defense for a reason. And you need to get more than 2 scores on them because they average just about 40 points per game. Give me Garfield in this one.
Yeah, this is Rootstown's a playoff team, so I'm not going to take anything away from them at all.
Solid team, very good team.
But at the same time, Garfield, like you said, I think you nailed it. Garfield is on another level.
Yeah, Garfield absolutely is. And their defense, you look at their scores against them. Week 1, 6 points. Week 2, 6 points. 3, 14. Week 4, 14. Week 5, 7. Week 6, 14. Week 7, 6. They are holding teams, and these aren't bad teams. These are quality teams, holding a 6-1 LeBray team to 14 points, holding JFK to 14 points, holding Cardinal to 6 points. Quality teams that this defense is doing work against, and you got to commend them. They're one of the best.
All Garfield had to do is shut down LeBray for me to be like, okay, you're real.
Yeah, and they've done it I mean, to do it to both JFK and LeBray back-to-back weeks, that's very impressive to hold them to 14
And
points.
guess what? Anthony Dema, the new Garfield program record holder for, I believe, total points responsible for. Yeah, he's an amazing player. He's going to have a big night as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think just looking at their schedule, they still got some tough opponents after this, Crestview, Brookfield, and Liberty. But Garfield's testing themselves all season. They're doing it again tonight with Rootstown. But I think because they've tested themselves before, it's just more of a reason why they're going to come out on top. But as we also look at it too, Rootstown after this has both Grand Valley 0-6, Mogador 6-1. JFK knows them because JFK fell to them 16-14. And then, of course, Wyndham they end the season with as they know the Bombers real well. But all home games for the Rootstown Rovers after this. Well, actually, all home games, I should say. This one's at home, too, against Garfield.
Yeah, and I found out last week. Oh, got 2 minutes. Found out last week. Rover's a boat, not a dog.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. As it should be a good matchup though for Garfield. It should just get them more points in the standings too for D5, and we already know as far as D5 where they're at. They're right there at 4, right behind Kirtland, South Range, and Garaway. So they can they might be able to get past Garaway if they could get some wins here, but it's a little bit of a stretch there, about 3 points in between.
So, I didn't know they dropped from 3 to 4 because they were 3 for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Garaway too, also 7-0, but I mean, just the wins against some quality opponents too. And I mean, looking at the 17-0, I mean, Malvern was 1, that's 5-2, Dalton 5-2, Waynedale 4-3, John Glenn 4-2, so quality opponents too this year against division opponents. And then South Range, it goes 19, 17, 15, 12, 10, 10 as far as the points are concerned in Division 5.
Yeah, I think the top 2 are kind of locked. Top 2 are locked where they're at. Kirtland, South Range. They might flip-flop, but I don't think 3 is going to jump into 2 unless something unexpected happens.
Yeah, and I mean, Kirtland even 2 points above South Range, so it would need a little bit to happen too. Kirtland, of course, facing quality opponents as that hasn't faced a Division 5 opponent this year. All their wins came from Division 4 and Division 3 opponents. Where let me look at real quick at South Range, as I believe is there one? Let's see. No, Division 4 and Division 3.
I think this week is their first Division 5 team.
It is. And of course, I mean, I should know that too because I mean they're one of the only 2 Division 5 teams in that NE8. But I mean, I guess it's just you look at the quality of opponents, I guess, and the points. I think maybe because they faced more Division 3 teams and South Range has faced more Division 4 teams has been a little bit of a
though. I
difference.
don't know how the schedules kind of play out for the rest of the week for Kirtland, but that Week 10 matchup against a Division 3 Hubbard that's very highly ranked. That might be enough if to push South Range to that 1 spot.
Well, I mean, it's a big game too for Kirtland. They're playing Division 2 Lakeside 3-3, and Lakeside in Region 5 is ranked 13 right now. Ashtabula Lakeside, right below Boardman. So it's going to be a big game too because either way, Division 2. Something's going to move with Lakeside. They might drop out because there's a lot of teams 6.19 for Lakeside. And then right there is Akron, Kenmore, Garfield at 5.8, and then Bedford at 5.0 that are right behind them that they could drop easily in the standings with a loss tonight. And, of course, if Kirtland ultimately falls to a Division 2 opponent in Lakeside, that would be huge for Division 5, and that might shake things up a little bit going into weeks 9 and 10.
I don't know when the last time Kirtland lost a regular season game.
That would be absolutely crazy. But
let's move on. East at Canfield this week. Canfield stays at home. They looked so impressive last week against Austintown Fitch. Do you expect any kind of lull or trap or layover from their big win over Fitch?
No, they're going to do much of the same. I mean, this defense is the real deal in Canfield. For that reason has, I mean, proven it time and time again. Teams just have so much difficulty scoring against this very tough defensive line, very tough linebacking crew, and very fast, smart, and tough to pass against secondary of Canfield. Their defense is so complete. Going up against a Youngstown East team that has surprised us before this season, but has struggled a little bit, hasn't played the past couple of weeks. So first time they've played, I think, since September 17th, I think, was their last official game. So almost a month in between.
Jeez.
I don't know how. I feel like the rust debate comes into play too after it, and Canfield being sharp. Give me the Cardinals.
A couple weeks off, and here's your prize coming back. You get to play Canfield in Canfield. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Canfield in this one as well. Richie and Gary Niddle will have the call, as they do all the time when Canfield is home. So that'll be a fun one. We love listening to Richie on YSN. Next is Warrensville Heights going to East Liverpool. Tommy Pease has the call in Potter Country.
Yeah, and East Liverpool, I mean, looked pretty good against Edison last week, too. They really did. And, I mean, finally we're able to get some points on the board. And we know after 2 consecutive shutouts, it felt good for them to get some points on the board and be competitive. Going up against a Division 5 opponent in Warrensville Heights, and Warrensville Heights has a couple wins this season. Their 2 wins are against the 2-2 Collinwood. That was a 32-0 victory, and an opening day victory against Normandy, 1-6 for 42-26. With
they went all the way to France.
Yeah, with a few losses against Gilmore Academy, Westlake, Lutheran East, East Cleveland Shaw, 20-14, Independence this past week. East Liverpool's actually shown me a lot, though, and I think that game against Edison, a very good Edison team, it looked like the Potters' offense was getting back on track. And we already know Potters' defense has been solid at points this season. I think East Liverpool can pull this one off against
I do too.
Warrensville.
I think the like you said, the big deal for East Liverpool was finally getting on the board last week. Finally finding that offensive flow again. And I think they're going to carry that into this week and win against a Warrensville Heights team that has won a couple games, but not against Great. I mean, they went to France for a win. I mean, Viva la France, but they surrendered really quickly. So,
yeah, I mean, you get that win over them, and I mean, they got the second win of the season. But now, looking at this one, I think this will be good for East Liverpool. It'll be tough competition. I think it'll be a close one, but I think it's one East Liverpool can definitely pull off.
Next one. This one won't be on the network, but still happening. Edison travels to Harrison Central.
Yeah, and we talked about this with Coach earlier in the week, and this is a game that's going to be exciting, as we know, a Harrison Central Division 5 opponent, but they've been on a losing streak. 5 in a row they've dropped now, and Edison, after Beaver Local beat them last week 48-14, Edison now gets to come into Husky Country and face off against Harrison Central. And you know what? It's a case, too, where Edison, it's the last away game of the season for them before 2 home games against both Buckeye Local and Indian Creek. And right now, Edison being 5-2, we know they're making that big turn in their program, and they're looking great each and every game. They've proven time and time again that they could win the close ones after dropping that very close one to Beaver Local 27-21 back-to-back weeks now, where they've picked up close victories against both Toronto and East Liverpool. I think they can do much of the same against this Harrison Central team.
Yeah, I don't think this one's going to be as close. I think Edison kind of runs away with this one. They move to 6-2 if they win this game. After 2 seasons ago, their last full season, they were 0-10. Last year in the COVID season, 3-5, very respectable for a team. But now, 6-2. If you win tonight, you secure at least a winning record.
I mean, they've already secured that they're not going to have a losing season.
Right. So right now, they're secured at least a 500, but the win tonight secures at least a winning record. So very impressive from Edison. We wish them all the luck. We talked to Coach Colby earlier this week. They have something really good going down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, making the turn, and especially in Division 5, Region 17, and you see Edison ranked number 8. So they, as of right now, have a home game locked up for playoffs, but I mean, not a lock yet, but I mean, at least in the standings wise, they have it, that position.
And our buddy Nick joining us on YouTube has picked Canfield, East Liverpool, and Edison in those games. We thank you for picking along with us. We enjoy seeing other people's opinions on who's going to win these games. All right, Girard, they go to Hubbard. Hubbard has been on a roll all season, and even though people have been saying they're one-dimensional, people haven't been able to stop what they know is coming. And this week they're playing a Girard team that has fallen off the wagon a little bit. They've been devastated by injuries. They're down to their third-string quarterback, and they're trying to find the footing, find a rhythm. But they've been struggling the last 2 weeks. How do you see this one going?
I mean, Hubbard in Division III is ranked above Canfield. And if that's telling you anything on what Hubbard's been able to do, and Hubbard's defense, too, has been one of those areas where we got to talk about. They've been so impressive, especially the last 3 weeks, shutting out Struthers 34-0, 46-7 victory over Jefferson, 49-7 victory over Lakeview. They've looked so impressive defensively. But now you're going up against a Girard team 4-3, and this is what we talked about. A lot of these teams in the NE8, same region, same division, in Division 4, same record-wise as far as Girard is concerned, as far as Struthers is concerned, as far as these teams in Division 4 are concerned for them, as well as what's the other team in Division 4? Not Lakeview, Poland, the other team, I believe, in Division 4 as well. That's going to be ranked among them. As Girard right now in Division 4 is number 13. So this is a case where you drop this one, you might drop a little bit in the standings, and we're gonna have to check in on Monday too, where everyone moved from this game. But this is a case where South Range and Hubbard have done very similar teams to very similar opponents. And I mean, you look at their opponents, it's very similar what the scores are. And I mean, I don't want to base everything off of what South Range did to Girard, because South Range, Hubbard, completely different teams. But Hubbard has just looked so impressive, and Girard, as good as they are and as impressive as they have looked, despite all their losses from their seniors last year to this year, I still think Hubbard is just on that collision course for Week 10, and they've looked so impressive, and I don't see many teams stopping them on their way there.
Look, we don't have an Adam Scheffner. We don't have a full health report on Girard, so I have to just assume that they're going to be where they were last week as far as who they're putting on the field. It's a tough situation for Girard. They looked so good, but they're trying to plug people in and trying to find rhythm. This is a tough opponent to do that, especially on the road in Hubbard. I'm taking the Eagles to win this game. Nick's taking Hubbard, and he thinks TC Caffey's going to have a big night. That's just it's become common knowledge. TC Caffey's just going to have a big night. I mean, it's what he's always doing. If he doesn't, by the way, that offense is in trouble. That's just how Hubbard rolls.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, and I think, honestly, what TC Caffey's doing this season in just the entire state of Ohio deserves to be recognized. And the fact that he doesn't have offers out the door right now for him is absolutely ridiculous. This kid is an absolute stud, and I think you're going to see another big game from him tonight.
Glen Oak makes the trip to Louisville. The Leopards still looking for their first win of the year. Can they get it at home tonight against Glen Oak?
Glen Oak's an interesting story, too. Their first win came against Week 1 Shaker Heights 31-22 before they fell against some very tough opponents, facing Massillon Washington, losing in a shutout, facing Massillon Jackson, losing in a shutout as well, facing 5-2 Hoover, facing 5-2 Green in both losses. I mean, they've faced a tough slate of opponents, too, especially in Division 2, being a Division 1 opponent in Glen Oak. Louisville, though, I mean, they face their tough opponents, too. You can't knock them. Also, Louisville facing that Green team last week, facing Poland earlier in the season, facing a very tough Barberton team, a Worcester team, a Hoover team, a Lake team. I mean, really, there's talent all over the place. But this is a case, too, last home game of the season. Glen Oak is kind of in the same position. I mean, they both have played very, very tough opponents this whole season. But I feel like Louisville, I can't imagine this Leopards team going 0-10 this season. I just feel like they're too good for it. They've had close games. They did it against Poland. They did it against Worcester. Give me Louisville in this one. I think Louisville can pull off the up 2 division upset. Even though it's at home, I still think they can pull it off against Glen Oak.
We're about halfway through the picks, and my buddy Ty has not yet gone against the banner. Nick picks Louisville, too. I think Louisville can get their first win tonight against the Glen Oak offense that has struggled this year. And Louisville's offense hasn't been like stat pounding, but they've been able to score in most of their games. So I think Louisville's offense gets off the ground tonight and gets that win at home, the first win of the season for the Leopards.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think they're primed too.
So Howland and Cheney is next, and this is a game we talked about a lot yesterday. Two teams that desperately need a win to go in the playoffs, and two teams that have looked very competitive against tough teams and haven't been able to push across the finish line. Interesting matchup between Howland and Cheney. I think it's going to be there's a lot of matchups like this week, so it's going to sound really repetitive, but Howland's going to try to play a little bit of a slower tempo. Matt Woomer's going to be a big deal. They're going to try to run right at Cheney. Cheney wants to use your athleticism, stretch the field a little bit more. We'll see a lot of perimeter runs from them, jet sweeps, swing passes, things like that, try to get their athletes the ball in space. In matchups like this, in my experience, the more physical team wins more than not. So I'm going to pick Howland in this one. I think they're just going to control the line of scrimmage a little bit more and be able to maybe out-physical Cheney a little bit. What about you? I know you're a Cowboy, so I feel like we're going to split.
You called the more physical team to win, and you didn't mention the Cheney Cowboys in that same breath. The disrespect for that is absolutely unbelievable.
They weren't physical against Canfield.
This is a matchup you look at last year.
Sorry, I'm not trying to
2020 in the regular season, these two teams matched up as well. And I mean, you call 2020 for what it was, but Cheney did fall in that one 13-12 on a failed 2-point conversion that there might have been some questionable no calls by the officials, but no excuses. You take your loss and you move on. But this is a Cheney team that has looked absolutely impressive. And yeah, you want to point out the one loss to Canfield. There's a lot of teams that have bad losses to Canfield. I'm looking at teams like Painesville Harvey, which was, it was a loss 16-14, a close one. A loss against Boardman 12-16. This is a team that is right there and defensively has looked very good against a lot of opponents. I think this is a case too, especially with it being at Rain Stadium right here, Youngstown, Ohio. I think Coach Emil is going to have this team ready. Go Cowboys. Give me Cheney tonight.
I think a lot of people are going to look at Howland last week and be like, oh, that didn't look right. And say, well, Cheney's going to win this game.
I don't know.
Don't let last week make you forget what Howland did 2 weeks ago against West Branch.
Yeah.
If that Howland team shows up, if that Matt Woomer shows up, Howland wins tonight. I'm betting on that.
I absolutely have no disrespect to what Howland and the Tigers have done, and they looked very good against West Branch. But Cheney's defense has been very good this season, and I think if they hang their hats on that, I think with the momentum of being at home, I think it's going to be huge for the Cowboys tonight. So.
I got to make up some ground in this pick 'em somewhere, so I'll bet on the Tigers. I think this is a good one that maybe not a lot of people in the YSN family will pick Howland, but I'll ride with the Tigers a little bit this week. We move on to Jefferson going to South Range, a big test. Every week we're talking about a big test for Jefferson. They've skidded since their 3-0 start, but they've been competitive in most of their NEA games outside of Hubbard. So can they go to South Range? Can they make this a close game? Can they stay in it? And if they stay in it, then is Jefferson a good enough team to make those plays?
This is actually very interesting as well, because Jefferson right now coming in ranked number 13. So it's number 13 Jefferson versus number 2 South Range this week. And Jefferson being where they are in Division 5, I mean, and seeing what's below them, 16 Berkshire 4.74, 15 Conneaut 4.75, 14 Liberty 4.87, 13 Jefferson 5.02. So all within less than a quarter a point or so difference. So you could see a huge shift in wins and losses, especially towards the bottom of that Division 5 right now. And honestly, it's just a case where Jefferson's defense has looked impressive in some games, and they've come close. But finishing drives has been an issue the last few weeks for Jefferson, and it's kind of been the opposite of what we saw Western Reserve having a really hot start, and now Jefferson kind of going through a little bit of their lumps in the middle of the season, where South Range has been a consistent powerhouse, starting off the season facing a Division VI powerhouse in Springfield, winning that one and not looking back since. I got to go with South Range in this one.
Yeah, Jefferson's defense has looked streaky this year. And there have been a couple of games where they've started off giving up a lot of points and giving up a big lead. And then the defense shows up, makes a lot of key stops, gets them back in the game. I don't think you can afford to do that against South Range. I think South Range is going to get a big lead early. I think Jefferson's going to fight back a little bit, maybe make this a closer game, maybe like 14 points, 17 points, something like that. But I just think giving South Range a big lead is just too much to overcome. I'm taking South Range as well.
Yeah, I think the Raiders have proven time and time again that they are kings of the NE8. And until they get knocked off, and we know there's a Week 10 collision course coming up too, but until they get knocked off, I got to go with the Raiders.
Remember, we can look ahead. Teams can't.
Yeah.
So we're good. This next matchup was the primetime matchup. The boys were in La Brea last night. They were cut a little bit short because of threatening thunderstorms, but they still got a good interview with Coach Armini down there. So big matchup in the MVAC. This game, everyone remembers the playoff game last year and how that went. Brookfield, La Brea. And this is another one. Like I said with Cheney Howland, usually in these kind of matchups, the team that controls the line of scrimmage wins the game. And I love La Brea. I love what they're doing. I think they got the taste in their mouth of what that kind of game can feel like against Garfield. And I don't think they're going to let it happen to them twice. I think La Brea wins in a close one. I think their offense is slowed down a little bit, but not a whole lot. I'm going to say La Brea wins 31-23 in that kind of score range.
So both of these teams coming in with one loss. La Brea 6-1, Brookfield 5-1. But both those losses, La Brea's loss is to a 7-0 Garfield team, 35-14. Brookfield's loss is to the 6-1 Springfield Tigers, 20-14.
On a final drive, by the way, a Beauregard touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Brookfield has looked really good. And another close game that they had encountered was against Crestview, where they did win that one 20-13. So they have proven that they can win those close ones. And
Nick picks Brookfield.
Yeah.
Do you think this is an upset if Brookfield wins, or do you think it's pretty?
It's hard to see. These two teams are so, I feel like, evenly matched because they're both so good, both in Division 6, both in Region 21. And you look at where they are too, ranked number 4 La Brea, number 5 Brookfield. Right behind each other in standings. And the margins are significant. La Brea does have a few more points than Brookfield, a little bit under 2. But this is just a case for me, as impressive as Brookfield has looked, and I want no disrespect to the Warriors because they held Springfield to 20 points on offense, and not many teams can do that. That's what's kind of making it hard for me.
That's the lowest score for Springfield. I believe they had 21 against South Range.
Yeah, that's what's making it so hard for me to go against, because I feel like La Brea is in the situation because they face some tougher opponents, winning big against Crestview, winning big against Champion.
How much do you put in that? Like the La Brea ran away against Crestview, and Brookfield won by 7.
Yeah.
Do you take stock in that? I don't, because I think it's different styles of matchups. I think Brookfield went into that game both those teams want to play slower. So you saw a real defensive kind of physical match. So I think that's why those two scores were dramatically different. I don't think it's necessarily a reflection saying La Brea's that much better because they beat Crestview by that much more. I think in that case, you really have to look at the two matchups and how different they are.
Yeah, and Springfield ranked 3 too. So it goes Springfield, La Brea, Brookfield. That's 3, 4, and 5 in Division 6.
Wow.
For me,
imagine if Springfield was over in the other tier, the MVAC.
Yeah, I know that would be something too. They did a little bit of a light tour. They visited Brookfield in the regular season, and that was a great matchup. For me, I feel like for them being at home, it's gonna just give them something. And there's a lot of parts of me that want to say Brookfield here, and it's like 51-49. I'm feeling this, but I'm going to go LeBray in this one. Close. And I don't think LeBray runs away and gets 35 plus points tonight. I think it's going to have to be a close game. And I think it's going to be, can their defense hold Brookfield and kind of force them into a one-dimension style of offense, which if they can, which we've seen them, they were able to do so in that playoff game, a little bit later in that playoff game where you kind of forced Brookfield into that one dimension, and using their multiple skill weapons, they were able to come away with the victory. I feel like it's going to be a close game, but I could see this one going either way. And I wouldn't call it an upset if Brookfield does get a victory, even with them being away. I think both of these teams are so evenly matched. It could be played anywhere.
Especially because, like you said, they're right behind each other in the playoff standings.
So,
this is what you said, 5 versus 6?
4 versus 5, I believe.
Sorry,
yeah.
4 versus 5.
So just two great communities, two great schools, two great programs, two fantastic coaches. We've had both of them on the show.
This might be a playoff, double dip playoff match, too.
It could be. And we know what Coach Armini, Coach Clark, both of them had them on the show. We love talking to both of them, and both do such a great job with these programs.
I feel like this match is so under the radar because it's not your big name teams that get talked about a lot.
It's a reason it was on primetime, man. There's a reason it was on primetime with good reason.
This is number 5 versus number 6. This is like your college game day primetime showdown between, I don't know who 5 and 6 are right now.
4 and 5.
I don't know who 4 and 5 are right now in college, but
I mean, Division 6, like I said, this is big because there are teams behind Brookfield more or less, but this is also a case too. LeBray about a little bit over a point away from Springfield, but if LeBray can jump into the top 3, that would be something too. But
here's another thing to watch. Brookfield still has Garfield on their schedule too.
Yeah.
So, you lose this one and then you still have Garfield. You don't want to go into the playoffs with a 1-2 kind of skid.
There's a lot of YSN teams too in Division 6. Division 6 has been a gauntlet. So, I mean, you got number 3 Springfield, number 4 LeBray, number 5 Brookfield. You have number 10 Western Reserve, number 12 United, and then number 16 Newton Falls with number 17 Mineral Ridge just on the outside looking in Division 6. So a lot of teams fighting for that top 16 in D6.
Quinn and Billy Mack will have the call there from LeBray. It should be a fun one. Let's do one more before we take a break and get ready for Drew DeShields. Lakeview going to Poland. We say this every week for Lakeview. They're a team that is competitive, is much improved. They just haven't been able to make the game-winning type of plays. I believe last week it was Struthers 26-0. This week it's to Poland. What do you think? Poland, they've looked like they've righted the ship since losses to South Range and Hubbard, and they look like they're back to action.
Yeah, and Poland right now ranked number 11 in Division 4. Number 10 Glenville. Here's the margin. Poland exactly down to the decimal 7.8694. Glenville 7.8769. So
despite having what's the difference between 8 and where Poland 11? Because Poland's probably still wants to try to get a home game.
Canton South 8.30 to 7.86. It's
Canton South still has to play Salem this year.
Very
right?
possible. And Fairless is where it kind of drops off at 10.93 for 7 seed. But it is still possible for Poland to grab that 8 seed and get a home playoff matchup.
Last push for Poland, they could get a home game.
And that's going to be huge too, because you got to remember it's 1 through 16. Everybody plays, so it trims down to 8. So you could at least get yourself to that top 8.
All of a sudden, usually that 8 seed is looking like, oh man, we got to play the 1 seed in the first round of the playoffs. Now it's all of a sudden 8 seed isn't the underdog anymore. They're the favorites. They get the home game against a 9 seed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they get to play the 1 seed.
And it's going to be huge for them. But you look at too. I mean, it's going to be a favorable game for Poland. And I mean, the good thing for Poland too is playing the Division 4 opponent in Lakeview, so they get those points for playing the same one. Glenville, let me check where they're at. Glenville is playing Division 3 Rocky River. That is 5-2. That might be a game where Glenville drops, and if they do drop, that for sure is going to be a case where they could jump them. Beaver Local is another team in Division 4. I forgot to mention they are number 9. too. So just above Poland as well.
Nick takes Poland. I take Poland. I'm assuming Ty takes Poland.
Yes,
too.
I take Poland as well.
It's a Poland sweep, and we'll take a quick break on the other end. We will get ready for the discussion with Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner, Drew DeShields. He'll be up next at 1:15. Don't go anywhere. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig and Ty Bartell both in the studio today as it's a very jam-packed Friday show. We've had pick'ems. We are about halfway through with those. We are getting ready for our discussion with Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner Drew DeShields. That's coming up any minute now. And we talked about the West Branch offense a little bit at the top. They're just lighting the world on fire. And Drew DeShield stepping into the quarterback spot is one of the big reasons why.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to step into the spot and absolutely take it over and make an offense that averaged over 40 points a game last season, at 43 to be exact, average 49 now, to take an offense and make it even better and step into it. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. And what Drew DeShields has been able to do with West Branch and proving it time and time again, week in and week out. I mean, against every opponent that they have to face. I mean, again, Carrollton, Canton South, they've proven it, and they've proven it big time, scoring big against both of them. So, I mean, you got to give the credit to Drew for a lot of that.
And we will give the credit to him because he's popping on right now. Drew, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things we want to talk to you about before we dive in, talk about this West Branch community and what it feels like to have back-to-back Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner. They were really showing up voting for you and Steven last week.
It's just a great community all around. You see it at our football games. Everyone comes out and supports us, and we get big crowds in our games right now because we're doing pretty good. And it's just super nice that we have a good community around here.
I mean, you guys answer the bell each and every week whenever there's any doubt that you could face the next one. You got another opponent here tonight in Alliance, and it's going to be a fun one. Up a couple divisions facing Division III Alliance, the same Alliance that beat a certain Salem Quakers team. But going to face the Aviators tonight, what are you expecting from them, and what are you guys trying to implement on offense to go against Alliance?
I'm expecting a lot of athletes on the field, and we just have to control the game and control the tempo of the game and limit the big plays.
Drew, you've come on the stage this year as a quarterback for this team that I think a lot of people were kind of wondering what the quarterback position would look like this year when you guys lose Brock Hilliard to graduation. And you're not just kind of stepping into an athlete role. I mean, you're making high-quality quarterback throws on the run down the field. What was it like kind of stepping into this quarterback role this year and not just, using your athleticism, but actually using some high-quality quarterback attributes?
I have always been a quarterback, except last year I was a wide receiver, and I came into the Carrollton game, so I got some experience there. And just stepping into this role, I knew I had to, show up and all that, and that's about it, really.
So follow-up, what was it like last year when, obviously Brock was doing his thing and doing great things, and you got to be at the other end of the spectrum and be a wide receiver? Did that give you more kind of respect of your wide receivers and more intellect and what they're going to do and how they're going to run their routes and a bigger chemistry with the receivers that you have now?
Yeah, I think that helped me a lot because then I had to run the routes, and now I'm throwing them this year, so I know where people should be and all that.
What's the biggest thing about your game that you want to improve going into this playoff? That we know Division IV is going to be a gauntlet, and it's going to be the best of the best. You guys are sitting atop of it for a reason. What is one way you want to get yourself to be better?
I just want to get better week in and week out and do anything I can to help my team, and probably I would say making the right reads most of the time, 100% of the time instead of maybe 90, maybe improve that.
Yeah, he's not happy with 90. A 90 is still an A, but not on the football field. I want to give you a chance to shout out your offensive line because I think everyone talks about this offense. It's averaging about 49 points a game, and that doesn't happen without the big guys up front. So give a little bit of shout out and love to your offensive line so they're not mad at you after this interview.
Oh, I love them. It runs through them. I know that, and they know that too. It just the whole offense runs through them, pass game and run game. It's just all through them.
Talk to me a little bit about, yourself personally and the leadership qualities you kind of had to try to find with yourself. Was it something that you had to learn? Was it something that you were because obviously stepping into this quarterback role and improving an offense that was already really, really good last year, it takes some talent and it takes some leadership. So talk to me a little bit about what it was like trying to get the team to rally behind you, being the new starting QB.
I think I had a lot of experience from Brock Hilliard last year, and then my brother was also a quarterback at West Branch for 3 years. So watching him on the sidelines being a water boy, watching what he did and then what Brock did helped me a lot.
I love that you brought up your brother because we have to talk about this family in the DeShields household. I mean, you have two coaches in the family that have both won over 300 games in their respective sports. You have the two older brothers that have both been phenomenal athletes, and you have you yourself. We've already talked to Penny DeShields, and she talked about how competitive that household is. Can you give us an insight into, from your perspective, the dynamic of your family and how you guys kind of work as a unit?
It is a very competitive household. It's competitive because, I mean, I don't know if any other family argues about fantasy football this much, but we argue about that a lot. And then I think it helps us in like the sports because, I don't know, we just don't like to lose.
Do you guys have a fantasy league this year?
Yes, we do.
Who's winning?
Kip is winning right now.
Oh, man.
We do a 2-quarterback league. Yes, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and then Cooper Kupp's been going off for him right now. So
stick with my homies out there. Talk a little bit about the defense of West Branch and what you guys bring on the defense side. I don't think it gets talked about enough, the defense you guys are playing this year, because you are scoring 49 points a game. But other than Howland, every team has kind of been stifled by your defense. Talk about the work that you guys put in on that side of the field.
We put in a lot of work. We only lost one. We lost free safety David last year, so we're returning a lot, and then middle linebacker Brock Smith. And we returned Steven, Nick, Jed, Jackson, and me. And I think that just helped a lot with the experience-wise. And then our up front is all new, but they've been showing up at week in and week out.
We know how competitive the household is, but I think there's one thing you could say now. He's the only one with the big dog honors to his name now. Too. So, he's got the big dog of the valley for the week. Drew, I think there's no doubt what you've done this entire season has more than deserved you to earn these honors of big dog of the valley, because I mean this offense has been absolutely amazing. And just talking about it, getting ready for playoffs, and just getting ready for that type of atmosphere, and going into the regular season atmosphere for a second, and seeing all these West Branch fans back, and we know how crazy that the West Branch community is for their football team. Talk to me a little bit about what it was like, because you played last year, a little bit different role, but talk to me about from last year to this year, how different of a feeling it is having that West Branch community back to support you guys.
It just, I don't know. I feel like it's just demoralizing for other teams, because I feel like our place is really hard to play this year because there's like no seats in the stands right now, and we have those cowbells going, and I don't know. I feel like it'd just be hard.
I think what's demoralizing is the fact that you'll go to some away games and you'll look and you'd say that there's more West Branch fans in the stands than there are fans for the home team.
Yeah.
You guys travel so well. Talk about, you're a multiple sport athlete, and you get to go and play basketball, play baseball as well. It's a never ending kind of year for you. How do you kind of mentally switch once football season's over and get into basketball season, and then once basketball season's over, mentally switch into baseball? And what's that kind of like for you going through the school year?
I don't know. I just feel like this is a tough one. Mentally, I feel like it's kind of like the same thing, just switching over from football to basketball. I mean, you're still competing, you're still doing the same thing every day, except it's just different muscles and all that. And then in the classroom, I feel like you just got to study and put time away to study for tests and quizzes.
That being said, too, and we know the X's and O's is important, and we know making those reads and football IQ is huge. But looking at your football career, what has been the biggest thing non-football wise that you've taken away from your football coaches?
Just how to be a good person day in and day out, and be a leader in the classroom, be a leader off the field anywhere, and just growing up with great coaches.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute. Yeah, because both your parents are coaches. Which one would you rather play for if you had to play for one of them, Walt or Penny?
Probably my dad. I feel like my mom yells more than my dad most of the time.
he needs a little bit of slack from it too. We know
Yeah.
Coach DeShields, both of them too, do such a great job. Drew, I guess my final question for you too. I mean, you being a junior, you still have another year with this great community, but just looking at playing for this community, I mean, you have something special that not a lot of kids have, and a great community that backs you. What's your favorite thing about playing for West Branch?
My favorite thing. My favorite thing is probably all the fans that just come and support, like anywhere. Basically, we were down in Woodridge and the stands were still packed somehow. I don't know how they do it, but I just love them for that.
All right, before we let you go, last question. Talk about what it's like to, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Ty, talk for a minute. I am so sorry.
What do you want me to
The question just went whoop, right out the window. It's Friday. I was going to ask you about the school and the memories in school. What are some of the things that you take from your teachers? Do you have a teacher that has impacted you in your high school career?
Yes, I would say Miss Frame. She has been like a second mom to me. She's always helped me. She's always been there for me, and I just thank her for that.
All right, Drew, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It is game day. Good luck tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Okay, thank you for having me.
You are absolutely welcome, Drew. That is Drew DeShields, the all-star quarterback of the West Branch Warriors, joining us on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Man, my brain just went whoop.
And now you could say the big dog of the valley.
Big dog of the valley, brought to you by Baird Brothers. Back-to-back weeks for West Branch, too.
Yeah, pretty soon it seems like that whole West Branch team's going to have a big dog.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be like Oprah. You get a big dog. You get a big dog. Everybody gets a big
community
dog.
shows up, man. I mean, they're tough to beat on the football field and in the votes.
You know, every home game for teams are going to show up for home games. What amazes me about the West Branch community is how well they travel. Like, I'm not kidding. I've been to away games for West Branch basketball where I look at and I'm like, there are more West Branch fans here than there are for the home team. And we're in the other teams. It's amazing how well they travel.
West Branch is a great team, and I mean, they got even better from what they were.
They stick out everywhere with that green too. There's not a lot of gyms where they blend in other than their own. So.
Yeah, honestly, and I mean, tops of Division 4 for a reason. They're sitting at number 1 for a reason. Yep.
Top spot, plant the flag.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to take a lot too, and I mean, for them to even be dethroned, I mean, they kind of got that one pretty well secured, almost 3-point differential from 1 and 2.
Okay, we got pick'ems to get through here. We got to get through a handful of them left and a couple on Saturday, and we continue them with Liberty going to Newton Falls, a Liberty team that got their first close game win of the season. They've been losing a couple of close games. They were able to make plays down the stretch last week against Champion. DC Farrow taking them down the field for a 75-yard final drive win, I should say. What do you think about Liberty's chances this week against the Newton Falls team that has hit a rough patch, but against the top tier of the MVAC? We saw Newton Falls look pretty good in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and this is, I believe, number 14 Liberty in Division 5 going up against number 16 Newton Falls in Division 6. So both of these teams, as of right now, in the playoffs in their respective divisions, but can be or kind of at risk of dropping out. Newton Falls, definitely. Liberty on the case as far as Division 5, Region 17 is concerned. A little bit more secured than the other two spots, but still 4.71 Liberty at 4.87, still very close. So looking at that, I think Liberty, though, last week looked very good against Champion, proved that they could win those close ones against a quality opponent. Newton Falls has looked good, though, this whole season, 2-5, but the last 3 weeks, it is the beginning of the season, getting those first 2 wins. Next 2 were losses, but they were close. And then it's like the last 3 games, albeit they faced Garfield, LeBray, and Brookfield, but haven't looked that great in those games. For me, Liberty's just been a little bit more impressive to me. And even though this one's at Newton Falls, I feel like Liberty has proven time and time again that they could be competitive. And even though this one's away, I think the game last week against Champion's going to help them a lot. Give me Liberty in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Liberty as well. The Newton Falls school will have that broadcast. I think Liberty's just starting to figure things out a little bit. They're a lot more disciplined this year than they were last year. They've lost a couple of really close games, and I think last week they proved to me and a lot of other people that they can pull out those close games
What
too.
we talked about, if they win, they guarantee no losing record.
And look, DC Farrell's a freshman, and he showed a lot of poise last week in that game-winning drive. He's starting to grow up before our eyes, and every week he gets better. So I think the freshman quarterback, along with Chris Cunningham, by the way, I want to give him a shout-out too. Back-to-back weeks with 100-plus receiving yards for Chris Cunningham. He's one of DC Farrell's favorite targets. I'm taking Liberty to win over Newton Falls. Next, we have Lisbon traveling to Latonia. Latonia has been trying to find their feet all season. They missed the first several weeks of the season due to COVID. Now they're trying just to gather themselves.
Yeah, the Spaghetti Bowl, I believe, is what they call this one. And I mean, there's I think over 100 matchup.
Coach Halgamore teaches at Latonia, coaches at Lisbon. He's probably hearing a lot of stuff from his students today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we know he's a bear during daylight hours, but on Friday night lights, he is definitely a Blue Devil. Then
it's that lighter shade of blue.
Absolutely.
One that I like a lot better.
And this is a case too, even though it's at Latonia, I feel like for me, Lisbon has been a little bit more impressive to me this season, and they've shown a little bit more. I think I'm going to go with the Lisbon Blue Devils on this one. Yeah, give me Lisbon on this one.
I'm with you. I think they've just looked better this season. They've looked like a complete team. They continue to get better week in and week out. I think Austin Daly's going to have a great game for them. He's been running really well the last couple of weeks, so I'm taking Lisbon as well to get the win this week at Latonia. Let's keep on going. McDonald going to Lowville. This is a game that we talked about at length yesterday, so I think for this one we can just go out straight and make our picks. I'm taking – oh, geez, this is a hard one too. I'm going to take McDonald. I'm going to stick with my motto that the more physical teams win the matchups between the two-tempo kind of offenses. You know, Lowville likes to run around, throw the ball a lot. I think McDonald's going to out-physical them a little bit at the line of scrimmage. They're going to win in the trenches, and they're going to win this game.
And you got to remember, this is a very big Division 7 matchup. It's number 8 Lowville versus number 16 McDonald. So definitely a loss for McDonald can put them out of the playoff picture. For me, I feel like the last game Lowville played against Western Reserve, against that very similar type of physical, tough team, I feel like it's going to help them a lot in this matchup. And for me, Lowville getting wins against teams like the biggest the one. Here's the one similar matchup. Columbiana had the 36-20 victory over McDonald. Lowville beat them 50-27. You take that for what it's worth. It is what it is.
Columbiana scored 20 against McDonald, 27 against Lowville. The only difference is Lowville ate up Columbiana's defense a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, if that shows a little bit of anything, I feel like though, even though they faced that physical team of Western Reserve, they were close to beating them. And I feel like they proved and showed a lot about handling those physical, tough type of teams.
Remember also, McDonald has had an extra week.
Yeah, I know. But for me, I feel like Lowville, being at home, coming off with a sour taste in their mouth off that week last week, that loss of Western Reserve, I'm going to take the Rockets in this one. Give me Lowville and Benny Balone.
This is another one next that we talked about at length yesterday as part of our marquee matchup previews. What about Niles and Struthers? What do you think about that one?
This one was admittedly the hardest one, I think, for me to pick. And I was back and forth on this one because I feel like both these teams are so close to one another. But for me, This is number 15 Struthers versus in Division 4 versus number 17 Niles in D3. So a loss could definitely hurt either of these teams. But for me, and maybe it was just talking to Coach Bank earlier in the week, but I feel like Struthers, especially, even though they're playing up the division, but being at home, last home game of the season for Struthers, it's a big night. I think they're going to pull off the victory over the Red Dragons. Give me the Wildcats tonight.
Tyler Sanchez has a big game for Struthers. I think the Wildcats win as well. I think the only times that Struthers has looked tough is against the three big teams they played, Streetsboro, South Green, and Shepherd. Every other game they've looked really, really good. So I think they're going to be just fine at home. I think Tyler Sanchez is going to have a big game. Dylan Greenwood's a great leader, keeps that team together through a lot of adversity. And I think Struthers is going to come out on top tonight at home. Salem on the road against the Carrollton team that may be exposed last week. I mean, a lot of people thought that game against West Branch was going to be a lot closer, and Carrollton just didn't put up much of a fight. What do you think about this one as Salem comes to town?
I think Salem too, being in Division 4 out a couple of regions in Region 13, they're ranked number 4. And they're ranked number 4 for a good reason. They are definitely one of the better teams in Division 4. And I think the one loss, too, being that overtime loss to Alliance, once you get into overtime, anything can happen. It was maybe, and admittedly, Salem's not their best game. But, hey, Salem's defense has proven time and time again 2 shutouts this season. They have a 35-17 win over Marlington, held them to 17. Held East Liverpool to 20, held Crestview to 13. This is a defense that has showed up time and time again. The only team other than that scored over 30 points on them actually the entire season was Beaver Local, and we know how good that Beaver Local offense is. Carrollton, as good as they are, 5-2 on the season, they've beaten some quality teams, including an Alliance team
Here comes that whole argument like, Carrollton beat Lions beat Salem, therefore Carrollton is bad. No.
I think Carrollton being at home, it's going to be tough for Salem to pull it off, but I do think the Quakers are the better team. I'm going to go with Salem in this one.
Nick says Salem, but he expects it to be a very close game.
Yeah, and exactly what he said. Carrollton always plays them tough, and Carrollton is a tough opponent. Salem's going to have trouble with it being in Carrollton, but I do think Salem's the better team.
Matt and Jared, our Salem crew, will have that one in Carrollton, so they're making the road trip. We appreciate them hitting the road with the Quakers and getting that game up on ysnlive.com. I'm going to go with Salem. I think they've already stubbed their toe once this year. I don't think they're going to come out flat or at all in any other games this year. I'm going to take the Quakers.
You got to remember, too, I mean, they could still win the conference or tie for it because they still have to play West Branch as long as they keep the one loss on their schedule. So Salem still can play for something as far as EBC is concerned.
Next one, Sebring and Coach Matt Seidel go to a Mineral Ridge team that is tailed off a little bit. And Sebring coming off of an off week. What do you think about this one? This one's interesting. I think both these teams are actually coming off on off week, right? Because Mineral Ridge's game last week was canceled.
And Mineral Ridge, I mean,
am I right with that? Or did they pick? I forget.
Yeah, they were slated to play Jacksonville,
and they just that got canceled outright. And I don't think Mineral Ridge picked up anybody.
Yeah,
so.
And I mean, this was a case. Mineral Ridge had their 2 wins against both Newton Falls and East Palestine, and then the loss to McDonald, a close one, and then they had to face Springfield and Western Reserve, both 2 of the hottest teams in Division 6 after that, and it didn't spell for much success for the Rams. But having a week, I think, in between that to let those 3 losses sit with them, it might be able to motivate Mineral Ridge. And you know what? I really like their quarterback situation there. And I think the Rams, honestly, being at home after the week off, I think they're going to come in ready, playing down a division, needing this victory too, because you got to remember Mineral Ridge in Division 6, just outside of the playoffs. I think number 17, right behind Newton Falls.
A team they beat, by the way.
Yeah. Give me Mineral Ridge in this one at home.
This is gut check time for the Rams because they haven't looked good the last couple of times we've seen them. They've been, like I said, they've been tailing off a little bit. And they have to kind of come together as a unit if they want to win this game. This is a very good Sebring team that has been right there. A couple of plays are really the difference between them having a couple more wins. They just haven't been able to make those game-winning plays. Jackson Milton, they let a 45-yard touchdown run towards the end. They had the lead late. There are plenty of Waterloo, they lost the lead late.
McDonald was close.
McDonald was close. They had a 21-20 lead in that game. So you look at that and you look at Sebring and say, they're right there. They just have to make those game-defining plays. Can they find a way to do it tonight? I think they do. I think they're going to go into a staggering Middle Ridge team and make those game-winning plays against the Rams. I'm taking the Trojans.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be a close game. And, I mean, you got the Fredericks, and if they're having themselves a game, they're going to be very tough to beat. So, I mean, it's going to be, I think, a fun game tonight.
Which Frederick is going to run for more?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's why God invented twins, because you have double attack. St. Thomas Aquinas and Warren JFK, of course, canceled. So we'll move on to United going to Wellsville. Big matchup in the EOAC. United still trying to fight for his top spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And United has looked absolutely fantastic this season. Only one loss to East Canton, and that one was close. That was, of course, a 13-7 loss. But since then, they've looked like a complete team each and every week, from Latonia, Columbiana, East Palestine last 3 weeks. But even before that, against Crestview being a big win for them. And I think their best looking win of the season. But Wellsville, a tough opponent, and they're going to be tough. Wellsville, of course, 3 wins on the season off of Lisbon, East Palestine, and Columbiana. So similar wins there. But for me, in this one, I just feel like United is just the more complete team. I think they're at the tops of the EOAC for a reason. Give me United in this one.
One of the things that I've loved about United all year, and I continue to, when we write the stories, when we see the stats, it's never like the same guy coming up with big. I mean, they're just a team of a bunch of guys that know their role and execute their role for that matchup. They don't have a superstar. They don't have a kid that continues to just flash up the stats. They just have a team, a unit that knows their role and executes it. I really like that. I like that unit of United. And not to kind of do that redundant thing with United being a unit. But I really like a team that does a lot of things well other than a team that does one thing great. So I'm going to take United tonight to win in Wellsville.
And, I think it might be a close game, though, but I think United is definitely.
Your game is next. Wadsworth travels to Austintown Fitch, a Fitch team that desperately needs a win to kind of boost morale a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going up against a Division II Region 6 opponent in Wadsworth that is a number 16 ranked opponent at that. We're in Fitch, of course, Division II Region 5, but they're ranked number 10 as of right now, and that's with of course, respect to just what they face schedule-wise and the wins that they have. Big win against Canton McKinley on their schedule is keeping them, I think, afloat right now. But yeah, definitely needing a win in this one. Wadsworth is going to be a solid team. They come in 2-5 on the season, but have faced a tough schedule.
2-5, and they're 16. That must be a heck of a schedule.
They did, and I mean, they faced. They've lost to a 6-1 Hudson team, a 6-1 Nordonia team. St. Vincent St. Mary, they opened the season with a loss, and a 7-0 Medina team. So facing some great teams, wins against Stowe Monroe.
Were those losses close? Do they have scores?
Yeah, the 35-0 to Nordonia, 42-20 to Hudson, 35-0 to Medina.
They're not being competitive.
Losing to the big loss that was bad. 1-6 Brecksville, 7-42 loss to Brecksville.
I'm leaning more and more towards Fitch.
Yeah, for me in this one, I just feel like Fitch, even though Wadsworth has played a tougher schedule, Fitch has looked good, with the exception of Canfield, and Canfield's defense made Fitch look really bad. But I feel like there was a lot to talk about too, and there's a lot of things that they're going to need to get creative with on the offensive line side of things.
Offensive line has to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like this being the last home game of the season before you got 2 away, Boardman and Warren Harding after this, you need this win to stay afloat in the standings to get yourself a good spot. I'm taking the Falcons at home tonight.
I think that you are absolutely right. The Falcons are going to win this game, but I don't think 2-5 record would Falcons can't sleep on this team.
No,
they've been tested. They're. I mean, I know they haven't been competitive against those teams, but they've played them. They know what level it takes. So Fitch needs to come out and take care of business. I think this would be a great spot for a big, just step on their throats type of win, where you win, 45 to something like that, where you just blow Wadsworth out of the water. Hopefully, the Fit Falcons can do that because they need a morale boost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just getting things right on offense and special teams especially is going to be the biggest question mark, I think, for the Falcons.
Waterloo hits the road and goes to Jackson Milton. Once again, Jackson Milton with the loss of the game last week. And Waterloo travels there. It's the Waterloo team that took one to the chin against Springfield, but I think everyone's taken one to the chin against Springfield this year so far. So what do you think about this one? Waterloo has been other than that Springfield game, has been a really competitive, really good team.
They've been solid, and I mean, picking up 2 wins on the season, and of course, I mean, that game against Lowville being the big one where they just dropped that 31-28. Jackson Milton, of course, 2 wins on the season, opening game to Hilltop where they won 29-12, and of course, beating Sebring 15-12. But for me in this one, honestly, and maybe it's just because they're one of my sweetheart schools, and
we know where you're going.
They're away, but. Hey, I'm going with the Vikings tonight. Give me Waterloo in this one. Going away for the upset against Jackson Milton. I'll take the Vikings.
I'll go with the Vikings too, eh?
I like Waterloo.
Down in Waterloo.
I do.
Waterloo is where Napoleon lost his big battle, and Jackson Milton's about to meet their Waterloo tonight, I think. But Nick picking Jackson Milton going against us. See, that's what we love. We love people saying you're idiots. Yeah, we're picking this.
And Waterloo being in Division 5, Region 17, I don't know if there was any actual way. Let me check real quick, too. If there is any way of Waterloo making it into it. I'm not sure if there actually is or is not right now, but let me see. As Waterloo right now, they are ranked at number 22. Would need to make up a little bit of space between that and 16, but hey, a win would definitely put you on the right track.
A win's a win, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then next we have West Branch, who we just talked about with Mr. DeShields, going to Alliance, a team that has already been a nightmare for one of our ABC schools. And that game was also in Alliance. So West Branch learned the lesson from Salem's loss there. Do they go and just take care of the Aviators, or is this one that we have to sweat out?
I don't know if you're going to necessarily have to sweat it out just because West Branch has proven time and time again. I don't think they're going to come in too confident in this one. They come in and they come into work and do their jobs, and I think you're going to see much of the same. Alliance, we keep talking about that game with Salem. Yes, it was a good game. It was a big win for Alliance, but you really look at what else Alliance has done this season. Only 2 wins on this season.
They're still sitting in at least playoff position, right?
Let me double check on that one.
I feel like the last time I heard, they were like somewhere in the spot where they were either in or they're making a run to it.
As far as Alliance, 2-5. They got those 2 wins against Minerva, but the big win against Salem. As far as where they are, Division 3, Region 9, Alliance, they are number 16, so they're just in right now. Howland being the team right behind them, close. Howland and Niles.
Nick says closer than you think, but West Branch is going to get the win.
I think it might be, and it might be closer too. But I do think West.
I said that. You said that before I even said how close I thought it was going to be. Give me a minute, Nick.
I do think West Branch wins this one, though. They've proven it time and time again.
I'm going to say West Branch by 2 scores, whether that be 10 or 14, 2 scores.
Yeah, I think West Branch has just they've beaten the best teams that have come their way, and they've proven themselves, especially the last few weeks, and I think they do it again.
Here's the big one, Western Reserve going to Springfield. We've talked to Coach Lude. We've looked at what Western Reserve was able to almost do last year and then the opportunities they had in front of them last year. They still have David Altier, who's been doing amazing things. He's up for Big Dogs of the Valley. Is this upset alert for Springfield at home? Can you imagine?
I think, too, with just the size, the game plan, I think what Coach Lude and everyone has done, I think what this Western Reserve program has been absolutely incredible. I think the defense has shown up time and time again, and they've been hard to beat. And I think that's going to pose some problems for Springfield, especially if they're breaking through the line and pressuring Bo immediately. If they do get that pressure and if they're able to finish drives is the biggest thing, because if they're finishing drives, they're going to stay with Springfield. But I said against Geneva, and I'll say it again, Springfield proved, I think, all of us wrong when they faced up to Division III Geneva and laid the smackdown on them. And I think by doing that, I said I wasn't going to pick against them the rest of the season, and I stick with it. Give me Springfield in this one.
This one, I really want to pick Western Reserve to win this because I feel like they can.
I feel like it's going to be a lot closer than
I feel like they have the tools to do it. What I don't think will happen is I don't think they'll capitalize on every opportunity they get. I feel like Springfield's too good. They're rolling too much.
Almost.
This isn't going to be 51-0. This isn't going to be the blowouts that Springfield has seen in the MVAC. But I can't pick against Springfield.
You got to look at the one loss Springfield has to South Range. Why did they lose? Because South Range took it down the field and scored every single time. And that's almost what you have to do.
That was probably the worst week one opponent Springfield could possibly have because you're going up against a very, very talented defensive line for South Range against an almost brand new offensive line for Springfield that was still trying to work together as a unit. It was a bad matchup for week one. And, we saw Bo Brungard running around the field trying to play almost 1-on-11 because he just couldn't get protection from his O-line, and South Range's lines just completely dominated that game. Now, we saw in the Brookfield game, they took strides. Their offensive line looked better, not perfect. And then in that Geneva game, it's like they put it all together, and now their offensive line's clicking.
Yeah.
So Bo Brungard with an offensive line, dangerous as anything you can come across. I think Springfield wins this game. I think it's close, probably the closest MVAC game that Springfield will have, but I still think they win it. They'll be in control in the fourth quarter, I say. I don't know if it'll be 2 scores or 3 scores, something like that, but it'll be closer than the other league games so far, but I think Springfield will still have this one in hand by the fourth quarter.
Yep, I agree.
This next one won't be on the network, but is happening. Wyndham traveling to Fairport Harding. What about the Bombers and their chances to keep their season afloat?
Yeah, and you know what? You might look at their last 2 weeks and see the losses, but hey, it was against a 7-0 Southeast team, a 5-1 Plymouth Tuning Valley team. And I tell you what, in that Pie Valley game, a couple of injuries unfortunately happened, and those you can never game plan for down the stretch. But those kind of derailed a Wyndham team that was rolling and looked like they were primed to beat one of Division VI best in Pie Valley. This is going up against a Fairport Harding team where I feel like Wyndham could kind of figure everything out and get themselves back together against 0-5 Fairport Harding. And in Division 7 right now, you look at where Wyndham's ranked at number 12. They obviously want to get bumped up a little bit as they would have to face Dalton, which Dalton has taken Wyndham out of the playoffs in a multitude of sports time and time again. So they would obviously like to avoid Dalton at any cost and move up in the standings. And it's obviously a point where they can do so. Plymouth to Wyndham is only less than a half a point differential. So you could definitely jump Plymouth and get into that 11th spot. Obviously, wins and losses can affect these standings drastically after this week. But definitely Wyndham primed to, I think, take this one. I'll take the Bombers.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't know how healthy Wyndham will be. We, once again, do not have an Adam Scheffner, unfortunately, at YSN. But I'm still going to take the Bombers to half a week to kind of get used to who they have and who they don't, what personnel they have to use. And I'll be at least surprised by those injuries. I think they win tonight at Fairport Harding. So now we have 2 Saturday games to pick. And you're doing double duty because you're working a game tonight. You're also working a game tomorrow. Warren Harding goes to Cardinal Mooney.
This is one, too. I mean, Mooney.
Now, wait a minute. You've picked for the banner all day. Don't you dare break this streak right now when we're so close to the end.
I mean, Mooney's looked really, really good last week, too, against Howland. And that was a big win for Mooney. And I said, too, even before that, before Mooney and Howland were matched up, I said on the show that I thought Mooney was going to go in and get their first win of the season because I thought this team was too good to go 0-10, and I know that they were good enough to get victories. But this is a Warren Harding team that time and time again plays one of the toughest schedules too. They're like Ursuline, they're like Mooney, they're like Fitch. They play a tough schedule. They've played a tough schedule, and they've been through a gauntlet. I think Mooney can keep this a lot more competitive than what we've seen because we've seen Mooney keep games competitive such as against Hubbard. They've proven that they could play these big time teams. I haven't seen them come on top of the big time teams yet. Where Harding, they've been able to do so against St. Vincent St. Mary, and that was a huge win for Harding, proving that they could play those big teams and come away with victories. I just think Warren Harding is a little bit too established in this one. I'm going to go with Warren.
Oh, they didn't hear that. Oh, something happened with Ty's mic. We couldn't hear him go against the banner. Oh no. How dare you?
You let me get one. You can let me get one.
So close. So close to the finish line. You break my heart. You're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow. I will pick Mooney tonight, and movie nerds will get that, hopefully. Someone watching got that reference, hopefully. Warren Harding, I get it, tough team. But I said this before when they were playing another YSN team. At some point, tough schedule has to stop being an excuse for Warren Harding. They haven't won the games, other than the two they've won, right? Three. Okay, they won last week. They've been in close games with really good opponents and haven't been able to finish. At some point, tough team has to stop being an excuse, and you have to win close games. I think Mooney's win last week is going to give them that mental block out of there. I think a lot of their losses this year, especially the last 3 or 4, have been mentally blocked because they're trying not to lose because they're on this big losing streak. I think they're going to come out playing a lot more loose this week, not tight, trying to get that first win and be like, we can't be a Mooney team that goes 0-10. I don't think they're going to be tight. I think they're going to look a lot better than we've seen them look this season. Their defense put things together. Devontae Smith, big game, go Mooney. They're going to win against Warren Harding.
We'll have to see.
In Middle Ridge too, by the way.
Yeah, well,
not in Mount Longhoff Stadium.
Yeah, we'll have to see, obviously. But I think Warren Harding, the last 2 victories, Boardman and St. Vincent St. Mary, impressive.
You disappoint me. Last one, Southern going to Valley Christian on Saturday.
This is one, too, where, it was a toss-up for me for a long time because I really do respect this Southern program, and I really do like what they bring to the table. 5-2 on the season. They've looked good the last few weeks against Columbiana, Wellsville, and Latonia. But so is Valley Christian. And, without the one loss to LeBray, which they were still able to be somewhat competitive in, I think Valley Christian has looked really good. They've been on the spot. They've come onto the spot, and this is really their biggest test of the season outside of LeBray. And I think they've learned a lot since that game, and they've grown a lot since that game. Being at home especially, give me Valley Christian.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Don't forget that Vashon Gurley is up for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley this week. Get out and vote. I want to take the time to thank Coach Jason Lude for joining us on the show today, as well as Drew DeShields. We love talking to them. We'll be back next week on Monday from 12 to 2. And enjoy Friday Night Football, everybody. The lineup for YSN is stacked. We have Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3, Power Hour from 3 to 4, and then Audible Call with Mike Ackelson. We'll probably kick off around 6:55 right before kickoffs of all the games you can watch tonight. All free. Go to ysnlive.com/live to tune into your favorite teams. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday from 12 to 2.